For purposes of considering priority businesses including mediated bills. Another motion set to be in the National Assembly this morning is the consideration of mediated versions of the Water Amendment National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023, also by the leader of the majority party, that pursuant to the provisions of Article 113.2 of the Constitution and Standing Order 153, this House adopts the report on the mediation committee on the Water Amendment Bill number 33 of 2023 laid on the table of the House on Tuesday 15th October 2024 and approves the mediated version of the Water Amendment National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023. The inquiry into regulations and illegal grant of tax to a company under the special operating framework agreement is also another motion to be discussed this morning. This is by the chairperson on delegated legislation. That this House adopts the report of the committee on delegated legislation and the inquiry into irregular and illegal grants of tax exemptions to a company under the special operating framework agreement laid on the table of the House Thursday.
Hello. Guys. Switch to Senate, iko different channel. Sani National Assembly maneno kiketo. Ini National Assembly. Inaenda kwa the same channel ama? No, it is just the same page mar parliament. But into the Senate. Oh. But the Senate broadcast Sani apparently is off. What you can do? If they have the logo. Check an Senate proceedings from the Parliament of Kenya channel. Sir. Considering yaneka kiketo kinene mar coat of arms chadonge mar coat of arms ma bedoga projected cha. Koro ingi yaneka amani manchiere. Sasa. Switch. In National Assembly proceedings National Assembly proceedings. Sir.
Ask your servants whom you have been pleased to call to performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your own and to advance the peace, prosperity and welfare of our country, those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Sajid at times, ring the bell for 10 minutes. 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 10 minutes.
to the standing orders 34, which also says that if there's not a quorum present when the chair is taken at the time for a meeting of the House, immediately after the saying of the prayer, the Speaker shall order the bell to be rung for 10 minutes, and if no quorum is present at the expiration of the 10 minutes, the Speaker may direct that the bell be rung for a further 5 minutes, and if there is no quorum present, the Speaker shall adjourn the House forthwith to the next meeting. I'll continue to take you through some of the business that is scheduled to be discussed this morning. There's the motion of establishment of the Science Museum, which is by the Honourable John Kiarie MP, that aware that Article 11B of the Constitution provides that the government shall recognize the role of science and indigenous technologies in the development of the nation, further aware that the Vision 2030 provides for the integration of information, communication, and technology in the country's transformative agenda, concerned that exists no science museum for consolidating indigenous scientific and technological innovations, training and research purposes in the East African region, appreciating that integration of science and technology would greatly enhance Kenya's economic and societal success, noting that there is potential for growth in the technology sector by establishing a science museum, further noting that the informal science education plays a key role in the progression of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is the STEM. Acknowledging that science museum operate as a nexus between science practitioners, policymakers, and the public, cognizant of the fact that a science museum in the country will greatly impact on the economy of the country in quest to becoming an industrialized nation. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the national government, through the relevant ministries, establishes and operationalizes a science museum in the country. This will be a resumption of debate that was interrupted on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, in the morning sitting. Another motion that is set to be discussed this morning is the National Sensitization and Support for Combating Sickle Cell and Hemophilia Disease. This is by the Honourable Peter Nabulido, MP. Also in the second reading this morning will be the Kenya Information and Communication. As indicated by the Sergeant at Arms, the quorum has been achieved. Allow me to hand you over for the live proceedings. Enjoy your viewing.
Okay, we may proceed, honorable members. First order.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable members, allow me to reorder the order paper. We will move to order, instead of going to order number 7 now, let's go to order number 8, followed by 9, then 10, then we'll come back to order number 7. You may announce order number 8.
Order number 8, procedural motion, exemption of business from the provisions of Standing Order 43.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that this House resolves to exempt the business appearing as order number 9, 10, 11, and 12 in today's order paper from the provision of Standing Order number 43, being a Wednesday morning, a day allocated for business not sponsored by the majority party leader, of course, or minority party, or business sponsored by a committee. Honorable Speaker, let me take it again, Honorable Speaker, so that a day allocated for business not sponsored by the majority party and minority party or business sponsored by a committee. I beg to move, and then I will ask that we move this business that appears on number 9, 10, yes, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We move it, Honorable Speaker, as per Standing Order number 43, being a Wednesday morning, that is, of course, usually allocated for the leadership and the business sponsored by a committee, Honorable Speaker. So I beg to move, and then I will ask the Honorable Kuria Kimani to second, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, as our whip has said, we've lost quite a number of days in the course of this week and last week, and therefore it is important that we prioritize the government business and exempt today being a Wednesday morning sitting when it's meant for private members' discussions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House resolves to exempt the business appearing on order numbers 9, 10, 11, and 12 in today's order paper from the provisions of Standing Order 43, being a Wednesday morning and a day allocated for business not sponsored by the majority or minority party or business sponsored by a committee. Okay. Honorable members, I now put the question that this House resolves to exempt the business appearing on orders number 9, 10, 11, and 12 in today's order paper from the provisions of Standing Order 43, being a Wednesday morning, a day allocated for business not sponsored by the majority or minority party or business sponsored by a committee. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 9, motion. Consideration of Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 38 of 2024. Question to be put.
Honorable members, I now put the Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 38 of 2024 be now considered. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 10, motion, alteration of the calendar and resolution to sit on a specific Friday.
What is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, yesterday I was on the... No, let me finish. Tell them.
Let me allow him to... It's okay. Yes, there's a division, so we'll go to vote.
Madam Speaker, yesterday I was on the floor of the House when we were debating about motion number 9,
and it was clear nobody supported this motion. I would beg you, I request you to repeat the question so that the members can make proper decision, Madam Speaker, on this matter. Thank you.
Okay, honorable members, I think what I'll do is put the question again, because it means the members didn't understand. Okay, honorable members, I now put the question that the Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 38 of 2024 be now considered. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The nays have it.
Order number 10, motion, alteration of the calendar and resolution to sit on a specific Friday.
You can move motion number 10.
Honorable members, I beg to move that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 28.4, the calendar of the House number and 33C, and that is the House of Meeting, that this House resolves to commence the short recess on Tuesday, 22nd October, and hold sittings on Friday, 18th October 2024, commencing 9:30 a.m. And that is for a morning sitting, and later in the afternoon, Honorable Speaker, we'll be having a 2:30 p.m. for the afternoon sitting.
Just read, just read the motion as is in the order paper. Don't add your own words.
For purposes of considering priority business, including mediated bills. Honorable Speaker, the rationale for seeking a resolution of the House to alter its calendar, it is that so that we are able to sit on Friday, 18th October 2024, arises from the fact that we need to recover time lost by the House on Mazingira Day, which was actually a public holiday last week, and the suspension of a sitting to allow public participation on the special motion. Remember when we had the public participation last week or the other week, I think it was last week, Honorable Speaker, for the proposed removal by impeachment of the Deputy President and the sitting used to consider the special motion. And also, Honorable Speaker, it is also due to the urgency to conclude certain priority business, pending before the House, pending in the House before we go for recess. And this includes, Honorable Speaker, the sugar bill, which is very crucial that we really need to dispense on, the water bill, and the division of revenue bill that we've that is also that of course is going to be referred for mediation as going by the voting this morning, Honorable Speaker, and any other mediated bills, Honorable Speaker, that are going to be received in the course of the week. Honorable Speaker, we'll also use the opportunity to list for second reading several individual private members' bills, and that is of course pursuant to Standing Order number 141. This bill currently, they total, they're actually 52 in number and are likely to lapse when the House proceeds for recess on 6th December, if not concluded for their second reading. And that is why it's very important, Honorable Speaker, for us to do that. And then there is also need to provide room for the House to consider any other urgent business, Honorable Speaker, that may arise requiring expedited considerations, Honorable Speaker. So I beg to move that, and I will ask the Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe to second.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion by the Whip Majority Party that, Honorable Speaker, we alter the calendar as he has moved the motion. Honorable Speaker, just citing only one bill, which is in mediated version, which I'm the chairperson, the sugar bill, Honorable Speaker. I want to present the paper laid this afternoon. And Honorable Speaker, now that the Majority Whip has put it into consideration, my people will be waiting to see that this bill goes through. So my absence from the constituency because of moving this bill will be value for money, And I'm pretty sure my people will be happy and the Kenyans will be happy. I second the motion.
Now propose the question. I now propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 28.4, Calendar of the House, and 33C, Hours of Meeting, this House resolves to commence the short recess on Tuesday, 22nd October 2024, and hold sittings on Friday, 18th October 2024, commencing at 9:30 a.m. for the morning sitting and 2:30 p.m. for the afternoon sitting, for purposes of considering priority business, including mediated bills. Honorable members, I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 28.4, Calendar of the House, and 33C, Hours of Meeting, this House resolves to commence the short recess on Tuesday, 22nd October 2024, and hold sittings on Friday, 18th October 2024, commencing at 9:30 for the morning sitting and 2:30 p.m. for the afternoon sitting, for the purposes of considering priority business, including mediated bills. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. We can now go back to order number 7.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
We have a request for a statement by the Honorable Mohammed Bidu, member for Isiolo South. Is he here? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Department Committee.
Apologies, Honorable Bidu. I'm sorry. I realize that we actually have questions. So let's start with the questions and we'll come to statements. I've seen the order paper. We do have questions. So we'll start with the questions, then we'll go back to statements. So you may sit down. You'll have your turn in a minute. Okay, so there's an ordinary question by the Honorable Member for Nyandarua, Honorable Faith Gitau, to ask the National Police Service. You may proceed, Honorable Gitau.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to ask this question. When will Police Constable Nelson Wahome, PF number 36703, who was unfairly dismissed from the service in September 1990, be reinstated despite being acquitted by the Bugoma Court Vide case number 2076 of 1990? State the timelines within which Mr. Wahome will receive payment for outstanding salaries and benefits for the period he has been out of employment, as well as compensation for the unwarranted violation of his labor rights as guaranteed under Article 41 of the Constitution. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
This question is to be replied by the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security. How much time do you require, Honorable Tongoyo?
Considering that the House will be going on recess, possibly 2 weeks when we resume.
Thank you. We now have a question from the Honorable Member from Mbeere North, Honorable Ruku. He's not here. So we'll skip the question. He loses the opportunity. And the next question is also by the same member from Mbeere North, Honorable Ruku. In the absence of the member, we shall skip those 2 questions. We shall now go back to statements. So, Honorable Bidu, you can now make your request for a statement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security, regarding the tenure and transfer of the Deputy County Commissioner for Garbatula in Isiolo South constituency. Honorable Speaker, the National Government Coordination Act 2024 provides for Deputy County Commissioner in respect of every sub-county, mandated with coordinating national government functions at the sub-county level. It is with great concern that I raise the issue of deteriorating security situation in Garbatula's Isiolo South constituency and failure by the Deputy County Commissioner and his team of the area to adequately address the issue. Over the past 5 years, residents of Garbatula have faced rising cases of insecurity and have persistently appealed to the Deputy County Commissioner, Mr. Stephen Nyakundi, to address the issue to no avail. This issue has negatively impacted the social-economic lives of the residents, including a 5-year closure of Bisanadi Primary School, Corbesa School, and Corbesa School as a result of unmitigated conflicts between feeding communities in the region. Just recently, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration announced transfer of Deputy County Commissioners, including that of Mr. Nyakundi. However, in a quick turn of events, his transfer was reversed, which makes this the 4th time this has happened in the last 7 years. Consequently, this has sparked public outcry as the residents believe that the Deputy Commissioner has failed to fulfill his mandated duties, particularly in maintaining peace and fostering cohesion within the sub-county level. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following. Reasons for the repeated reversal of the transfer of the Deputy County Commissioner for Garbatula, despite demonstrable failure by the DCC to end the persistent insecurity in the region. Number 2, measures being taken to effect the transfer of the DCC of Garbatula in Isiolo South constituency and post replacement. And number 3, strategies put in place to enhance the transparency and efficiency of the transfer process of national government administrative officers to ensure that they are in a position to serve their assigned regions effectively. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Thanks.
The question shall be responded to by the Departmental Committee for Administration and Internal Security. Honorable Tongoyo. How much time?
Okay, of course, Honorable Speaker, when we come from recess, but with actually a lot of respect to the rule of the House and the Honorable Member, listening to what he was saying, this is purely a human resource issue that I think will not have really warranted to be put as a statement, because the Ngawa office, or the officers who are responsible with the issue of placement and transfers of our officers, their offices are actually open, and they do this based on merit on individual cases. So I would rather challenge or ask them, Honorable Member, if we found it fit, just get to the office of the Administrative Secretary Administration and discuss even the issue. It's more better even if approached in that manner.
I think he's noted that point, but nevertheless, because the member has sought a statement to this, just put in the request.
Well guided.
Yes, he's going to either have the committee will make sure they get the report, the response for you. So 2 weeks, Honorable Tongoyo? Okay, thank you. I know you don't have to wait after recess. You can actually send out, because the government is not on recess. So if you send out the letter today, then by the time we come back from recess, the response will be there. So you can't put the country in recess also. Thank you. The next question is by the Honorable Member, nominated Member Abubakar Talib. Honorable Bidu?
Yeah.
Yes?
I have tried to go to that office severally. 4 times the transfer has taken place.
Honorable Professor, you're out of order. Allow him to proceed.
Where do I go? Can I be given assurance, Madam Speaker?
Honorable Member, I've already ruled that the chairperson will send out the letter today or tomorrow, and then by the time we come back from recess, there should be a response. So it's sorted out. Thank you. What's your point of order, Honorable Russo?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I respect your ruling on this matter. But as the Honorable Chair has already affirmed, this is a human resource issue. And what the Honorable colleague is saying is this particular DCC has overstayed in that area. And as a result, the citizenry are up in arms, complaining. And that is why some things are administrative. They don't have to come to the floor of the House. But I believe as a committee, we will also pursue so that it doesn't really waste the time of the House when it can be done by the ministry. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay. Honorable Member, that's a point noted, but let's allow the relevant State Department to do that response to the member, not yourselves. Now you're acting like the State Department. I think if the member wants the response from them, I think that's a good point, especially if it's been pending. So let's move to the next request for statement by the Honorable nominated Member Abubakar Talib.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request a statement from the Chairperson of Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning regarding the abrupt termination of operation by Direct Line Assurance Company Limited. Honorable Speaker, on 10th September 2024, Direct Line Assurance Company Limited announced the immediate cessation of its insurance business operation. In the announcement, the company stipulated that any further transaction must be conducted through its original shareholders. This development has raised significant concerns about the stability of the insurance sector and the welfare of policyholders across the country. Furthermore, it has created widespread confusion and uncertainty in the market, potentially affecting thousands of policyholders and the broader public. Honorable Speaker, it's against this backdrop that I request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning on the following. Provide a comprehensive report on the current status of Direct Line Assurance Limited, including detailed information on its ownership, shareholding, and number of policyholders. Clarification on legal status and validity of insurance policies issued by Direct Line Company Limited, particularly on the coverage and protection to vehicles and passengers in the event of an accident. Plans put in place to ensure that claims made by motor vehicle owners insured by Direct Line Company Limited are processed. Measures being taken to ensure that all vehicles with valid insurance covers from Direct Line Assurance Company can operate without hindrance for the duration of their policy validity, and plans put in place to prevent future cases where the financial instability or closure of an insurance company could adversely affect the operability of insured vehicles and the safety of passengers. Thank you, Mr.
Chairperson for the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And from the onset, I would like to thank the Honorable colleague for bringing this matter to the attention of this Honorable House and to the attention of our committee. I know this is a matter of public concerns, where several people are taking insurance coverage, but when it comes to the time to be compensated, then that challenge exists. And Honorable Speaker, without preempting maybe what the committee will do, the situation that's happening with direct line insurance is very unfortunate and should not happen in the first place. Because in any case, there exists a policy compensation fund where in the event something happens to an insurance company, whether insolvency or whatever challenge that come, then the person to the insurance policy holders should not be the one to suffer any loss. And therefore, maybe given the short time of recess, in another 3 weeks, we should be able to come back with a response to this Honourable House, hopefully to the satisfaction of the Honourable Member. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. And now we go to the request for statement by Honourable Joyce Kamene, member for Machakos County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A request for a statement regarding the delay of disbursement for the National Government Affirmative Action Fund for Machakos County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Department Committee on Social Protection regarding the delays in disbursement of the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, GAF, for Machakos County. Honorable Speaker, GAF is a cornerstone for our government's commitment to inclusive development by providing access to financial resources for socio-economic empowerment for the women, youth, people living with disability, needy children, and the elderly. Through the fund, many of our young men and women have found reliable avenue for promoting their enterprises and value additional initiatives, making it instrumental in transforming lives. Owing to the crucial contribution of affirmative action initiative in our societies, it is important to ensure timely disbursement of such funds and proper structure for its efficient administration. Sadly, Honorable Speaker, Machakos County continues to face inexplicably delay in disbursement, leading to accumulation of unspent balances for the financial year 2022-2023 and 2023-2024. GAF has been deploying Madam Betty Kanyiri Njoni of personnel number 2009-1421-27, Principal Gender Officer, as the county coordinator on extremely short acting contracts. These inexplicably intermittent deployments, separated by incoordinate delays spanning as long as 2 months for GAF to renew the contract, continues to cause serious administrative gaps that significantly disrupts effective administration of the fund. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Department Committee of Social Protection on the following. A report on the status of disbursement of the GAF balances for the financial period of 2022-2023 and 2023-2024 to the Machakos County, and the measures put in place to ensure timely disbursement to enable the continuation of projects approved for funding, and action being taken by GAF to immediately post Ms. Betty Kanyiri of personnel number 2009-1421-27 as the GAF County Coordinator for Machakos County for an interrupted contract for at least 1 year in order to ensure effective and seamless administration of the fund, including the timeline of the posting. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Signed, Honorable Joyce Kamene Kasimbi. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kamene. This question is referred to Committee on Social Protection. Is the chair in the House? In the absence of the chair, the vice chair? In the absence of the vice chair, then I would like to pass this to the leadership. When can the Honorable Kamene get a response? Honorable Osoro. In the absence of the chair and the vice chair, Social Protection Committee, to which this question by the Honorable Joyce Kamene is referred, I would like you to tell us when she can get a response.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I commit to whip the chair of the relevant committee, and I promise that with my push, we'll be able to get the answer once we resume back from recess. That should be about 2 weeks from now.
Honorable Kamene, is that acceptable to you, the first week when we come back from the recess?
Chair, Madam Speaker, I wish we'd have gotten an answer in the next 24 hours because we'll be going for recess, and these are balances that are within the headquarters of GAF, and I'll be at the ground, nothing doing, without even a coordinator, and you can easily remember that we had gone for another recess. I had nothing to do in the ground because we do not have these funds, and funds are available and they're at the GAF headquarters. Can I please get a better answer? Thank you.
Well, Honorable Kamene. Yes, do you want to respond to the Honorable Kamene?
Yeah. Honorable Speaker, I am just holding brief for the chair. I really do not want to make a commitment, Honorable Kamene, that I won't deliver. Please indulge me and allow me to push the Honorable Member to be able to do the response in just 2 weeks. It is not very long, Honorable Kamene. Immediately after we go for recess, you'll find a lot of other engagements with the great people of Machakos, and I'm sure you'll be so much committed, and you'll utilize the funds in the long recess that will be going just after we resume back. You can now be doing the capacity building and all the other things. Thank you very much, Honorable Kamene. Thank you, Honorable
Well,
Speaker.
before I go to Honorable Kamene, what is out of order member for Tiati?
Madam Speaker, while I appreciate Honorable Osoro giving responses here on behalf of the chair, I am finding it difficult to understand the role of Honorable Osoro. Madam Speaker, Honorable Osoro is a majority whip. And a few minutes ago, the majority leader was here. What role is Honorable Osoro playing in this House?
So I want to ask you, Honorable Member for Tiati.
Can we be told
what is out of order, Honorable Kamket?
What role
is out of order?
Is Honorable Osoro playing? The majority leader has been around, and it looks like the Honorable Osoro is acting majority leader. I do not know what's happening. Can he explain to us what is happening in the leadership of the Assembly?
Well,
are there changes that we do not know about? Can we be informed of what is happening?
What is out of order then?
We want to know whether there are changes in the leadership, Madam Speaker, because the majority leader is here.
Well, there is nothing out of order, Honorable Kamket. For sure, there is nothing out of order. And I was able to watch the body language of the member for Machakos as she was being engaged by the Honorable Soro. And I would like to request for your patience that you get the answer in 2 weeks so that you don't get commitments that are not possible, especially when we are on recess. Thank you, Honorable Member for Machakos. Next. The Honorable Abdul Haro, please proceed with your question.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on the Tourism and Wildlife regarding the increase in wildlife attacks in Mandera County. Honorable Speaker, over the past 5 years, Mandera County has witnessed an increase in human-wildlife conflicts. Many residents and their livestock have fallen victim to attacks by crocodiles, hyenas, and snakes, which has in turn caused physical, emotional, and financial devastation to the affected families. One such case is that of Mr. Ibrahim Abdullahi Ali of ID number 6411601, who was attacked by a hyena in a Babosone location on 27th June 2023, resulting in the loss of his right arm. His family, burdened with significant medical expenses, has been forced to seek specialized treatment in Awasa Hospital in Ethiopia. Similarly, Ms. Fatuma Nur Ali, a young woman from Abeyumur village in El Ram location, lost her life to a snake bite on 24th May 2016. Her case was duly recorded through the Kenya Wildlife Compensation Claim Form, serial number 694/MDR/2016, and submitted to the KWS Mandera County for processing. Unfortunately, 8 years later, her family is yet to be compensated. These incidents underscore a need to address and safeguard the well-being of residents of Mandera County. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Tourism and Wildlife on the following. 1. A comprehensive report on the support being provided to Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure prompt responses to distress calls in Mandera County. 2. A report on the immediate and long-term measures that the government has put in place to mitigate the recurring human-wildlife conflict in Mandera. 3. An update on the compensation status for the families of Mr. Ibrahim Abdullahi Ali and Ms. Fatuma Nur Ali, including specific timelines for the settlement of their claims. And 4. Measures put in place to streamline and expedite the compensation process to ensure timely and fair compensation for all victims of wildlife attacks. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Mandera South. This question is referred to the Departmental Committee on Tourism and Wildlife. Is the chairman in the House? In the absence of the chair, the vice chair? I see a hand from the Honorable Kilel. I would like to pass it to the House leadership. Let me pass this to the Honorable Soro. It is tourism and wildlife. Question asked by the Honorable Abdul Haro, member for Mandera South.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also wish, just like the other one, in the absence of the chair and any member of the committee, I want to make an undertaking that the member will get a response once we resume back from recess, Honorable Speaker. Yeah.
Honorable Haro.
Honorable Speaker, I stand guided.
Thank you. Next order. So now, honorable members will go to The Honorable William Kamket, member for Tiati. It's a response to a question.
Honorable Chair, I think it's the chairman to respond to the statement. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. As I did promise yesterday to respond to the very statement being sought by the Honorable member for Tiati, here I want to issue the statement. Honorable Speaker, the member for Tiati constituency, Honorable and the only one, William Kamket, had requested a statement regarding the review of scheme of service for the appointment of chiefs and assistant chiefs in marginalized areas. And the honorable member particularly sought to be informed, one, whether the Ministry of Interior and National Administration could consider a review of the academic qualification for appointments of chief and assistant chiefs in marginalized areas. Two, whether the ministry could consider experienced individuals from the respective location and sublocation in the recruitment of chiefs and assistant chiefs on the basis of affirmative action. And I respond as follows, Honorable Speaker. The appointment of chiefs and assistant chiefs is guided by the reviewed scheme of service for the National Government Administrative Officers 2015 that explicitly set the minimum qualification for appointment as follows. Assistant chief, for appointment to this entry grade, a candidate must have the following qualification. Have a Kenya certificate, secondary education, KCSE, mean grade of C-, or its equivalent from a recognized examining body. Be not less than 30 years of age. Be a resident of the particular sublocation. Police should have produced a police clearance certificate, have a good communication skills, and have a certificate in computer application skills from a recognized institution. Honorable Speaker, for the position of the chiefs, to be appointed to this entry grade, a candidate must have the following. Have a Kenya certificate of secondary education, KCSE, mini grade of a C, or its equivalent from a recognized examining body. A diploma in any of the following disciplines: public administration, management, social work, community development, education, governance, conflict management, or its equivalent from a recognized institution. And be not less than that 5 years of age, and be a resident of the particular location, with, of course, also the issue of the police clearance certificate of good conduct, have good communication skills, and have a certificate in computer application skill courses for the recognized institution. However, and I repeat, Honorable Speaker, however, in specific circumstances where the advertised position do not attract qualified candidates, the ministry on need basis request academic waivers from the public service to facilitate the filling of these vacancies. The Public Service Commission always grants such academic waivers on request. The other thing that the member wanted to know is whether the ministry could consider experienced individuals for the said position. Honorable Speaker, where is possession of experience in social, political, economic, and cultural aspects of communities is important in public administration at the grassroots, all cadres or position in public service are subject to particular minimum academic requirement during recruitment and selection process. As already indicated, the use of academic waivers in special circumstances is in itself an affirmative. And I underline that. This affirmative action ensures that citizens in the marginalized areas are not discriminated, but have an equal access to the chiefs and assistant chiefs position. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I submit.
The Honorable Kamket, is the response satisfactory?
The Honorable Speaker, while I appreciate the response from the chairperson, this policy, Honorable Speaker, as he has stated, began in 2015. And from then, Honorable Speaker, the position of the chief and assistant chief, which is a very important position in government, has been completely watered down. And in places where some of us come from, Madam Speaker, very many young people have been disenfranchised. And this policy, Honorable Speaker, the policy that the Public Service Commission came up with is a very punitive policy. It is anti-people, it is anti-hustlers, and it's a policy that never underwent any public participation. And in my request, Honorable Speaker, I specifically asked the ministry whether they could consider a review. But what they have said is that they have special circumstances where they ask for academic waivers. What if, Honorable Speaker, those people are not available? We have in this republic, the Republic of Kenya is not equal. We have places where you cannot get somebody who has finished Form 4, let alone somebody who has a C- or a C stand. I have asked for a specific policy review because this one never underwent public participation. Madam Speaker, I am asking and I'm demanding that this policy be reviewed. Otherwise, we are going to challenge it in court.
You want to ride on that before I give the chair? So then I start with the Honorable Dr. Pokose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on this issue that has been raised by the member for Tiati, I wanted to ask the chair whether these academic waivers only apply to marginalized areas or to all other areas where people with minimum qualifications as stipulated for assistant chief or chiefs are not acquired. Then the second one is recently we had cassettement of divisions, locations, and sub-locations, and those have not been operationalized. When are they going to be operationalized? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Well, then on the same, I would like to give a chance to two more people, then we end it at that. The Honorable David Bowen, Marakwet East, followed by the Honorable Peter Lochakampong. Those two.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to support the Honorable Kamket. And specifically to that policy that requires some specific academic qualification for chiefs or assistant chiefs. Madam Speaker, many parts of this country, in the northern Kenya, in the northern frontier, all the way to Turkana, I want to tell you, Madam Speaker, it is true that you can go to a sub-location and you may not find someone who has finished their Form 4. And that place requires an administrator. And you know, Madam Speaker, the reason why some of us from the pastoral community, there are so many insecurity and this banditry, because there are no administrators. The government is far away from the people. So if we want to bring services closer to the people, the services are for a chief or an assistant chief. Madam Speaker, I think that policy needs to be reviewed so that we can see if there is no one in that location or sub-location who has not finished Form 4, Madam Speaker, we can consider even someone who finished Class 8 and is able to do the job. So I want to ask my colleague, the Honorable Chair, that he can still go back to the ministry and give us a very concrete answer. Thank you, Madam Speaker. At the same time also, with what the Honorable Bokosa said, Madam Speaker, there are so many administrative units which were cascaded, locations, sub-locations, and divisions. Like recently in my place, the Honorable Speaker, the Kerio Valley Sub-County, they operationalized the sub-county and posted a deputy county commissioner, and they have not operationalized the divisions, the locations. So you have a deputy county commissioner who is without the assistant county commissioners, who is without chiefs. How is he going to operate?
Well, thank you. You made your point. Members, I had agreed to give to the Honorable Lochakapong. It 1 minute.
Yeah,
1
thank
minute,
you.
please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to commend Honorable Kamket for bringing up this matter. And this is something that is affecting many parts of this country, especially the pastoralists. Where I come from, this is a big problem. To get somebody who has C- to be an assistant chief. And while still, Honorable Speaker, you have even, the chair has even communicated that for a chief, it's a seaplane. And in the spirit of promoting an assistant chief, probably who was recruited with a C-, on the exit of a chief, it becomes very difficult. And Honorable Speaker, even where he is saying that academic waivers are issued in some special circumstances, sometimes it is not forthcoming. So we have had challenges, Honorable Speaker, and I want to say this, that that policy needs to be reviewed. If, Honorable Speaker, for somebody to contest to be even a member of this House, there is no academic qualification required.
The Honorable Nicholas Ngikolong, Turkana East, and the last one.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to support the statement by Honorable Kamket. Madam Speaker, this issue of chiefs and the assistant chiefs in those marginalized areas, it is really something which is supposed to be looked at by the Ministry of Interior. Madam Speaker, I am a son of a chief, and I am in this house because of the reward the people of Turkana gave me because of my dad. The job you did in that place, and that's why I'm here, the member of parliament. Madam Speaker, my dad, he was just a mayor pastoralist, and he was given that position. And he did a good job, and that's why the people of Turkana reward me because of the good job my dad did. Where is this issue of the C- or the seaplane coming from when we want to recruit a chief? Madam Speaker, this policy is supposed to be reviewed so that everybody can be given a chance. When we talk of those places, we don't have even schools in some areas. How can we get a C- in those areas when we don't have a school in those areas? And there is also in the same policy,
It's okay. You made your point, Mheshimiwa. So, Beatrice, I would like very kindly, let's go back to the chair so that we can close this. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I've really had the members who had actually raised their concern. And Honorable Speaker, I know that the subject matter is a very, of course, elicited a lot of interest across across the House and even in the nation. But Honorable Speaker, I want to state that that is how it is at the moment. And I think we had actually laid it very clear that the issue of waiver is applying. If probably there could be delay, it could be attributed to individual officers who are responsible by doing the so. Let me make my point, Honorable Kamket.
Order, Honorable Kamket.
Because even I know quite a number.
Please be orderly so that, no, I would like him to first of all respond to you.
Honorable Speaker,
No,
just protect me from...
If if you are not satisfied, you can also say that you are not satisfied, but let's give him time to finish.
So what I'm saying, actually, Honorable Speaker, I'm in total agreement with the concern of members. That is true in majority of these hard pastoralist communities or some areas in this country. To get even a C- is a problem. And even the people who probably has these grades are the people who actually probably are in Nairobi, are in towns, and the role of the chiefs needs somebody who knows the issues, the local issues in the community. But having said this, Honorable Speaker, I want to say nothing is cast on stone. That is how the scheme is at the moment. This House has the powers also to review if need be. But at the moment, this is how it is. Maybe the honorable members can as well look into the means that the scheme and such kind of policies and regulations can be reviewed. I'm actually also in support that maybe we need to reconsider this.
Well, before the Honorable Kamket speaks, Honorable members, let us bear with the chairs of committees because the chair is reading a response from the ministry. And I believe that the chairs agreed with the members that there is need for change of policy. So with that, one more minute, Chair.
Yeah, had me 1 minute. So I think to be on record, I really understand. And I personally come from a pastoralist community. And I know how important this thing is. That majority of the most competent and more efficient officers could be actually the people who could have been staying in that area for too long, understand the local issues, policies, and even local issues. Lastly, on the issue of administrative unit, Honorable Speaker, this is an issue that I think the honorable member is supposed to have written a statement. Nevertheless, we all know that this thing boils back to the issue of finances and availability of resources. The issue of Kerio Valley, as being said by Honorable Bowen, we know this is something that was, of course, hurriedly done because of the insecurity in the region. And it has really helped a great deal. The issue of the small unit, it is just a factor of resources and money. We all know that the vacation of finance bill did a big deal to the operationalization of this unit. So moving forward, I know good days are ahead. When we move into the supplementary budget probably coming up too, we'll consider to allocate resources to operationalize on need basis, Honorable Speaker.
I would like you to be on record. I would like Chair to be on record on the matter of need-to-need basis. Is it operationalization of existing which have been gazetted? Or?
Yes, Honorable Speaker. The gazetted, there are quite a number. The backdating actually 2017. Because of the constraint of resources, quite a number has not been operationalized. So we are going to do it gradually, depending on availability of resources. Yeah.
Has already agreed with you. There is no need to pull this further because it's not a debate, but because the question belongs to you, I'll give you 1 minute. Please pass the mic. Please pass the mic to the Honorable Kamket. Other members, please bear with us because we have to move to the next order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we have an interesting situation here. The chair himself does not believe in the answer in the reply he has brought to the House. The chair agrees with me and agrees with the rest of the members that this policy needs to be reviewed. So now, why does he bring a statement to the House that he does not even believe in it? So, Madam Speaker, may I request, Madam Speaker, if this was a regulation, we would have looked for ways of repealing it. But this is a policy that is done by the ministry. Would I be in order, Madam Speaker, that you order this chair to call for a meeting where the Cabinet Secretary, the Public Service Commission appears before the committee, and then we come and address this matter holistically. Because as it is now, even the chair does not believe in the statement he has brought. He agrees with me.
Chair.
For Honorable Kamke to say that I don't believe in what I'm reading. That is, of course, very wrong. What I've said actually the concern of the members from the pastoralist community, where I personally also come from. I really totally in agreement with the concern they are raising. What I had also said to be on record, that nothing is cast on stone. Police can be reviewed depending on merit and when on need base. So that is exactly just what I've said. And the honored member is a senior, you are a ranking member in this house. And you know the procedures. You know if there are need to review the regulation and policies and the scheme of service. So you have made your point as guided by the Speaker. We are going to, of course, able to scale it up and see, because it has to be between the ministry and the public service, which actually is the custodian of the schemes.
Thank you, Chair. I would like you to take a seat. I would like Honorable Kamket to take your seat. So then, Honorable Members, I order that this matter be discussed further by the Committee on Administration and Internal Security. In this committee, the Cabinet Secretary or the PS, if the Cabinet Secretary decides that the PS be there, but also Public Service Commission to be there, and let this matter be discussed by the committee. So thank you. Honorable Kamket, please take your seat. Kamket, oh, you are being disorderly, Honorable Kamket. Honorable Kamket, you are being disorderly, and you know this is your third term in this house. Is it your third or your fourth? Second. I thought that you are third term. So, Honorable Kamket, if after this matter is discussed by the committee, the chairperson will bring a report in this house. And I hope that this will not be for pastoral communities only, because this matter affects many other areas of this country. Thank you. Chair Education. Next will be Chair Education, responding to the Honorable Doris Donya, member for Kisii County. And she has been patiently waiting. I do not see the Chair Education in the House.
Honorable Speaker, with your permission, I will read the response.
You have the response, please proceed.
From the chair on behalf of the Chair of the Education Committee. The question was the strategies that Ministry of Education has put in place to ensure that schools adhere to set regulations, including prohibiting tuition during weekends. Honorable Chair, the Ministry of Education in Kenya has implemented various strategies to ensure that schools adhere to regulations prohibiting tuition during weekends and school holidays. Some of the key measures include: 1, circulars and guidelines. The ministry regularly issues circulars reminding schools and stakeholders of the ban on extra tuition, which we first imposed in 2012. The circulars outline the guidelines prohibiting any form of tuition during weekends, public holidays, and school vacations. 2, through the Directorate Quality Assurance and Standards Directorate, the ministry conducts routine inspections of schools to ensure compliance. Officers from this department visit schools, particularly during weekends and holidays, to check if extra tuition is taking place. 3, reporting mechanisms. The ministry has established reporting mechanisms where parents, students, and the public can report cases of schools that violate the ban on tuition to the sub-county field offices. 4, public awareness campaigns. The ministry has rolled out public awareness campaigns to educate parents and students about the importance of rest for learners and the regulations on tuition. These campaigns aim to discourage parents from asking for extra tuition. 5, engagement with stakeholders. The ministry regularly engages with key stakeholders to ensure collective responsibility in enforcing the ban. These dialogues help ensure that both educators and parents are aligned with the government's policy on the matter. These efforts are part of the ministry's broader agenda to promote a balanced learning environment and prevent the overburdening of students. On question 2, the question 2 was on the plans the Ministry of Education has put in place to ensure that public and private schools that pick and drop students have sufficient vehicles to avoid long travel time to and from school-going children. And the response is as follows. Honorable Chair, education in Kenya has taken several steps to address the issue of school transportation, especially concerning the adequacy of school buses for both public and private schools. These strategies aim to ensure that students are safely picked up and dropped off without facing long distances or delays. 1. Transport guidelines / circulars for schools. The Ministry of Education has developed guidelines for school transport to streamline the management of school buses. These guidelines / circulars encourage schools to ensure that they have sufficient buses that comply with safety standards and adequately serve their student population. Schools are required to ensure that buses are properly maintained and the journeys are properly planned. 2. Encouraging schools to purchase buses. Public schools have been encouraged to prioritize the purchase of school buses through government funding, the Constituency Development Fund, and contribution from parents and alumni. Schools that already own buses are urged to increase their fleet to serve the growing student population. The ministry emphasizes this as part of the infrastructure development necessary for competency-based curriculum CBC rollout. 3. Monitoring and auditing school transport systems. The ministry's Directorate of Quality Assurance and Standards is tasked with the safety of learners and transport system of learners and transport systems in schools to ensure they meet the required standards. Schools are checked for sufficient transportation resources and long pickup or drop-off distances are discouraged. 4. Engagement with parents and school boards. The Ministry of Education works closely with parents and school boards to address transportation challenges. Parents are encouraged to participate in discussions with school administrations regarding the transportation needs of students. This includes raising funds for additional buses in cases where schools face logistical issues related to the insufficient transportation. 5. Partnership with the National Transportation and Safety Authority, NTSA. The ministry collaborates with the NTSA in ensuring that school buses adhere to the required safety standards, including the appropriate routes and operational hours. This partnership helps enforce the use of buses that are safe, properly licensed, and capable of serving the school's catchment area effectively. 6. Government-funded school buses. The ministry has worked through government programs, including the National Government Constituency Development Fund, NGCDF, and county government funding to assist public schools in purchasing school buses. This initiative focuses on equipping public schools with the necessary resources for transportation, particularly in rural and marginalized areas where transport infrastructure may be underdeveloped. NGCDF has been instrumental in funding the acquisition of school buses in numerous constituencies, with members of parliament actively supporting these initiatives. These buses are meant to serve students in areas where public transportation is limited, reducing the burden of long walking distances or the need for students to use unsafe or expensive alternative means of transport. 7. Transportation safety and capacity regulations. The ministry, in collaboration with NTSA, has implemented stringent rules regarding the capacity and operation of buses. These regulations mandate the school buses must not exceed their passenger capacity, should adhere to specific operational hours, no night travel for school buses, must have proper safety equipment such as seat belts for each seat. School found violating these regulations, such as overcrowding buses or allowing unsafe travel conditions, are subject to penalties, including fines or revocation of their bus permits. This ensures that the available buses are used to efficiently and safely reducing transport risks. Number 8, capacity building and training for school bus drivers. The Ministry of Education, in partnership with NTSA, conducts capacity building programs for school bus drivers and transport managers. These training sessions focus on enhancing road safety awareness, improving route planning to minimize long travel times, encouraging adherence to transport regulations specific to school vehicles, trained drivers and transport managers can better organize student pickup and drop-off schedules, avoiding unnecessary delays or long routes that might strain the transport system. 9, community and stakeholder involvement. Schools are encouraged to involve the local community, parents, and alumni in solving transportation challenges. Fundraising initiatives and alumni contributions have been successfully employed by many schools to purchase additional buses or maintain existing ones. In some cases, local buses or organizations sponsor school buses as part of their corporate social responsibility CSR efforts. The ministry is in the process of developing a school's transport policy to guide in implementation of various interventions outlined above to entrench a culture of safe and secure transport system for all learners. Signed, Florence Amoit, Principal Secretary, for Principal Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Donya.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've just followed on what was reading, and I just wish instead of reading all those things, because to me, they have not made any good sense. It could have even answered my question with the last point. The Ministry of Education is going to look on ways to form a transport policy. That could have worked better. Reason, Madam Speaker, there are schools where learners wake up at 3:45 a.m. They are in school. We see them by the roadside. Members of Parliament wake up very early to go for games. By 5, our children are early. They are in buses going to schools. He is saying they consider and make sure that they are not overcrowded in buses. I don't know if he was reporting for Kenya or Uganda. Every day, if you are on the road, you will see school buses overcrowded. So you've just read things that are on paper, but they are not on the ground. And on reporting to school time, the Committee on Education, you could even have called me and asked, Donya, which schools are these? I would have given you a list of schools. You go there with papers, you give learners. They do like you put in a suggestion box. What time do you wake up? What time do you come to school? So I give it back to you. You've not answered what I had asked. What you've reported to me is what you have, as one can have a newspaper in the house, but it's not what is happening. I don't know, Madam Speaker, how I'm going to get the legit answers that I wanted for this particular question to the Ministry of Education.
So the member is indicating that she is not satisfied by the response. So I give it back to you.
Thank you, Chair. This is the response given by the Principal Secretary, and obviously we will communicate back that the member is not satisfied with the answer, and that from her response, follow-up response, she's also indicating that if there is need of knowing those specific schools which have grievances, then we'll make a point of, as a committee, indulging her and getting to know those schools. I think that is the communication I'll take back to the committee and by extension to the ministry.
Honorable Donya.
If I'm not wrong, Madam Speaker, the member who was reading the answers is a parent. Please, if I could ask, were you satisfied with what you are presenting?
Well, Honorable Member for Kisii,
you see, Madam
I would
Speaker,
like to protect the Honorable Harrow. First of all, he's reading on behalf of the chair. The chair is not in the house. And you have indicated that you are not satisfied by this answer. So, and there is something that you said. You said the answer is on policy. And I would like, because everything is on record in this house, I would like you to register to the chair of this committee that the member for Kisii County, the Honorable Donya, is not satisfied. And now I would like to give you an opportunity to give us an indication of when you are going to give the answer that is more satisfactory so that you pass to the chair. How many weeks do we give you?
Thank you, Chair. I will definitely pass that message to the Chair, and I think it will be fair to say, as soon as we come back from recess, I'll communicate to the Chair that the response to the follow-up by Honorable Donya is required. Thank you.
Thank you. So it will be after we come back from recess, the first week. Honorable members, allow me to give a chance to the Honorable Ruku. I'm aware where the Honorable Ruku was doing very important duties for this country, so please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, for this chance. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask 2 questions to the Teacher Service Commission. 1, can the Teacher Service Commission outline specific measures in place to ensure that the teacher recruitment procedures are inclusive and provide adequate affirmative action safeguards to accord teachers from marginalized groups such as barrier community opportunity for equitable employment, particularly in the ongoing recruitment, in line with the fulfillment of Article 10(2)(b), Article 27(6), and Article 8 of the Constitution. 2, can the Teacher Service Commission provide the list of teachers from marginalized groups and communities, including the barrier community, who have been marginalized and who have been recruited on account of affirmative action in the past 5 years? Honorable Speaker, I also rise to ask the Public Service Commission the following 2 questions. 1, can the Public Service Commission provide a report on the actions that the Commission has taken to mainstream marginalized groups?
Order, Honorable Ruku. I would like to ask the Honorable Abdul Haro. Honorable Abdul Haro, please come back to your seat. The question that is being asked now concerns the Departmental Committee on Education, and you have just been speaking on behalf of the chair. So please wait, you take this question, and then you can proceed to the next business that you are going to do. Proceed, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also rise to ask 2 questions to the Public Service Commission. 1, can the Public Service Commission provide a report on the actions that the Commission has taken to mainstream marginalized groups and communities in public service through recruitment, placement, and promotion in line with Article 232 of the Constitution and the Public Service Values and Principles Act, Cap 185A. 2, can the Public Service Commission clarify whether there are established recruitment quotas or targets for marginalized groups in the public service, and if so, provide details on the progress made in meeting these quotas and targets? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Geoffrey Ruku. I give a chance now to these questions. The 2 questions are referred to the Departmental Committee on Education, and I would like to give a chance to the Honorable Abdul Haro, a member for Mandera, to tell us when the questions will be responded to.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think 2 weeks after we are back from recess would be
He has said, Honorable,
2 weeks?
Yes,
after we come back from recess.
Yes, that's enough.
Very good.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 11, motion, consideration of mediated version of the Water Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023.
Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Article 113, subsection 2 of the Constitution, and the Standing Order 153, this House adopts the report of mediation on the Water Amendment Bill, the National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 15 October 2024, and approves the mediated fashion of Water Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023. Honorable Speaker, the Water Amendment Bill, the National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023 was published in July 4, 2023 and read for the first time in 26th July of 2023. The bill was considered by the National Assembly and passed with amendments on 23rd August 2023 and thereafter referred to the Senate for consideration in accordance with the Article 110, subsection 4 of our Constitution. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the Standing Orders 144, the National Assembly Standing Orders, and the Article 110, subsection 4 of the Constitution, the bill was forwarded for consideration by the Senate. The Senate considered the bill in accordance with the Senate Standing Orders and the Constitution and passed the bill with amendments on 2nd March 2024. Honorable Speaker, subsequently the National Assembly considered and rejected some of the Senate's amendment to the bill on 30th April 2024. Consequently, pursuant to the articles of 112 Section 1, subsection B, and Article and the Constitution of 113 of the Constitution, the bill was referred to the Mediation Committee. Honorable Speaker, the Speaker of the National Assembly appointed members of the mediation on 13 May 2024 as required by the Standing Order 149, subsection 2 of the National Assembly Standing Orders, while the Speaker of the Senate appointed senators to the committee on 9th of May 2024 under the provision of Standing Order number 166, subsection 2 of the Senate Standing Orders. Madam Speaker, the members of the National Assembly comprised of myself, Kangoko Bowen, as the chairperson, the Maisori Kitayama, the Honorable Engineer Muiruri Mudhama Stanley MP, the Honorable Hussein Weitan Mohammed MP, the Honorable Engineer Nsengu Paul Mushimi MP, the Honorable Dorothy Muthoni Kiara MP, and Gertrude Mbeyu MP. And on the part of the Senate, Madam Speaker, there were Senators John Muya Methu, MP, Senator Mariam Sheikh Omar, MP, Senator Jones Mwashushie Mwaruma, MP, Senator Agnes Kavindu Mudhama, MP, Senator Beatrice Akinyi Okola, MP, Senator Steve Lelengwe Lutumbesi, MP, Senator Wamatinga Wahome, MP. Honorable Speaker, the Mediation Committee began their sittings on Thursday, 19 September 2024, and pursuant to the Article 113, subsection 4 of the Constitution, the committee was required to agree on the version of the bill and table the report within the 30 days from the first sitting. Madam Speaker, the committee held a total of 5 meetings, with the first meeting held on Thursday, 19 September 2024, and concluded the sitting on Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. The committee considered the clauses of the bill that were under mediation and subsequently agreed on the version of the bill whose report has been tabled for consideration by the House, which I did actually, Madam Speaker, yesterday. In summary, Madam Speaker, the Mediation Committee considered the Senate amendment on the Water Amendment Bill, the National Assembly Bills number 33 of 2023, and identified clauses 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, and 12 as the being the contentious clauses and agreed on the version of the bill.
Order members, I would like you to reduce the levels of consultation. It's too high, so that we are able to hear the Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Madam
Honorable
Speaker.
Kagongo.
So the committee, in arriving at the agreed version, was guided by the provisions of the Constitution, the Water Act, the Public-Private Partnership Act, and other relevant laws. Further, in accordance with the Article 118 of the Constitution, the committee took into consideration the submissions made by the public during the public participation conducted by the National Assembly and Senate as contained in the reports of the two houses. Madam Speaker, the main issues of contention were: 1, the subjection of the proposed bulk water purchase agreement by waterworks development agencies and the Water Storage Authority, the contracting authority, and the private investor to an economic efficiency criteria set by the Water Services Regulatory Board. In this regard, the committee was able to agree that the proposal by the Senate on the requirement to the subject of water bulk purchase agreements to an economic efficiency criteria set by the Regulatory Board be dropped and instead include the Water Services Regulatory Board, that is a WARSEP, to be among the bodies to be consulted whenever the Water Storage Authority and Waterworks Development Agencies enters into water bulk purchase agreement. Madam Speaker, the Mediation Committee was of the view that whereas the bill provides for the bulk water purchase agreement will be subject to the Public-Private Partnership Act, which provides the general framework for the visibility and approval of the public-private partnership projects across the various sectors under after Section 32. This does not preclude the House from having more specific requirements for the water sector, given the unique nature of the water services. Further, noting the role of the Water Service Regulatory Board, that is the WARSEP, as the regulator, which is crucial in ensuring these projects meet the higher standards. Madam Speaker, secondly, the other issue in the contention was the non-transferability of completed national public water works to counties. The Mediation Committee considered the clauses 4 and 6 and agreed to retain the provisions precluding the handover of the national public water works to counties. Madam Speaker, you may be aware that Section 8 of the Water sets out the national public water works, which are financed by the national government share of the national revenue pursuant to the Public Finance Management Act and are intended to serve the national government functions, hence the same may not be transferable to the county government. Further, some of these national public water works are cross-county in nature and therefore it should pose an administrative challenge to determine which county to transfer such water works. Madam Speaker, the third point is that the committee was also able to agree on the issue of the publication of standards to be set by the Regulatory Board on licensing of waterworks development agencies in provision of the bulk water services as proposed in Clause 5 of the bill. Madam Speaker, having taken a closer look at Section 2 and 22 of the Statutory Instruments Act, guidelines are statutory instruments and consequently, therefore, is a requirement for their publication in the Gazette. The fourth issue, Madam Speaker, is on Clause 7, that provides for an amendment of Section 72 on powers and functions of the Regulatory Board to additionally make tariffs for bulk water services. The committee agreed on a revised version
of the clause, which was generally correcting a drafting error and harmonizing the provisions with the existing provision of the Act. The committee agreed to separate the WARSEP authority to evaluate and recommend the water and sewerage tariffs for water services providers from the authority to evaluate and recommend bulk water tariffs for the waterworks development agencies. Given that Section 72(1)(c) of the Water Act already provides the WARSEP role in evaluating and recommending the water sewerage tariffs for water service providers, the bill needed to distinctly address the evaluation, recommendation, and approval processes for bulk water tariffs. Madam Speaker, the fifth issue, the committee agreed to delete the clause 11 of the bill that sought to amend Section 114 on the objects of Water Sector Trust Fund to enable the waterworks development agencies to benefit from the fund. Currently, the Act mandates the fund to provide financial support to counties for water and sanitation services, as well as support the development and management of water services in the marginalized and deserved areas. Madam Speaker, the committee observed that there is need to protect the integrity and the purpose of the Water Sector Trust Fund, which has historically been earmarked to support the marginalized counties. Allowing the waterworks development agencies, which are the national entities, to access this fund poses a risk of diverting resources away from the counties with acute water service needs, undermining the fund primary objective and alleviating the disparities in undeserved regions. The Water Sector Trust Fund also receives contributions from the county governments for agreed upon programs, as stipulated in the Section 117 of the Act. Expanding access to national entities that are already financed by the national government raises concerns over the equitable distribution of these resources. This could create an imbalance, allowing the national entities to undue advantage while depriving counties of vital resources needed for the local water service development. Madam Speaker, finally, the committee agreed to retain clause 12 that proposed an amendment to Section 19 of the Water Tribunal as proposed by the bill. The committee agreed to reject the Senate proposal to provide for a nomination of 2 persons by the Council of County Governors in the Water Tribunal. Madam Speaker, you may notice that Article 169 of the Constitution establishes the subordinate courts, including the local tribunals established by an Act of Parliament. In exercising a judicial authority under the Article 159 and 160 of the Constitution, the tribunals ought to be independent and subject only to the Constitution and the law only, and to be independent from the direction or a control of any other person or authority, including their composition. The Water Tribunal, as proposed in the bill, is established to hear disputes related to the implementation of the Water Act. As an arbiter, it is prudent that the tribunal membership remains as neutral as possible. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, the committee is grateful to the officers of the speakers, both for the National Assembly and the Senate, for the support they have given the committee, Madam Speaker, since we started the mediation committee to the final of this report. The conclusion. Madam Speaker, finally, I also want to express my appreciation to the members of the committee, both the National Assembly and the Senate,
and also to our secretariat for the commitment, the assignment, which it enabled the committee to complete a task within the stipulated period. So, Madam Speaker, those are the few clauses of the Water Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023, Madam Speaker, which we passed in this House. And when it went to Senate, there were some amendments here and there, according to the clauses which I have mentioned here. But, Madam Speaker, I want to report to the House that when we sat as a mediation committee, we sat and we have agreed on all the contentious clauses, Madam Speaker, and the bill now is before this House. And I want to ask my colleagues that we approve this bill so that it can go back again, maybe to the Senate for approval, and probably proceed to be ascended by the President, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move, and I want to ask the Honorable Kamket to second.
Honorable Kamket.
Honorable Speaker, I second.
Thank you, Honorable Kamket. Honorable members, I propose the question that pursuant to provisions of Article 1132 of the Constitution and Standing Order 153, this House adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Water Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023, laid on the table of this House on Tuesday, 15th October 2024, and approves the mediated version of the Water Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023. Honorable members, if you are interested in debating on this, please hit the intervention button. Thank you very much. The Honorable James Nyikal, member for Seme. Kindly pass the mic to the member for Seme, the Honorable Dr. James Nyikal.
Let me use this one. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the mediated version, merely on the fact that it's actually a mediated version, meaning that members of this House sat with the members of the Senate and looked through, and therefore felt that on those areas that we had disagreed, now we agree. And Madam Speaker, I want to point out that these are really very important bills, and it's unfortunate that when we are discussing them, we don't have very many members to look at them. When we look at the issue of water, water is the greatest social determinant of health. In fact, if you can improve the water supply to your citizens, you will drop diseases related to water by over 90%. And therefore, we would have expected that actually a lot of us would be here to do this. Madam Speaker, that is one point I want to raise. The other point I want to raise, Madam Speaker, is that every time we have a mediated bill, the issues come to do with devolution. And you find that many times when we don't seem to agree on what the role of the county governments are, and therefore if you look at this bill and what was presented, the main issue was in the tribunal and the issue of the involvement of the Council of Governors. Madam Speaker, what that indicates, and Madam Speaker, I want you to hear me on this. Madam Speaker, I've said that every time we have a mediation, you find an issue arising on the involvement of the county government. Even in this bill, the main thing that have come was actually in the tribunal and the role of the county governments. What that means in principle, Madam Speaker, is that our constitution, the way we have implemented our constitution and the way we have implemented devolution, there are very, very many issues that actually have not been totally addressed. And I take this back to the days of the transition authority. Things didn't work. And there are many structures there that do not work. It's my considered view, Madam Speaker, that probably it is time that we looked at the Constitution, the way it has been implemented for the last over 10 years, and what are the areas we need to look at. Madam Speaker, it is the same thing. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Division of Revenue Bill. And again, when people go to discuss the Division of Revenue Bill, Madam Speaker, I'm not discussing that, but often they come here and say, now I understand the needs of the county. How is it that when we are discussing something at the initially, we do not understand the needs of the counties? And now when we go into negotiation, then we understand the needs of the county. It means that structurally there is a problem in our implementation of devolution, in our implementation of the constitution that brought devolution, and it is time we looked at it and said, which are the areas we need to look at, we need to strengthen. In this country, when somebody talks of amendment of the constitution, people see it in purely political terms. We fail to see that it doesn't matter what politics does. In the end, it is the service people get. And if a bill is affected in such a way that a devolved function cannot be properly implemented unless you improve the relationship between the national government and the county government, then that is where we should look. We can't go every year, we keep going on, and that is the basis of the things we do. I think, Madam Speaker, that's something we should look at, and with that, I support the mediated version of the water bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nikal. The Honorable Beatrice Elachi, member for Dagoretti North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise to support the mediation committee report on the water amendment. Madam Speaker, for us in Nairobi is where now we have, and I know all of you live in Nairobi, with the challenges we always face with water. But now when we talk of the bulk water services that we see, and I know very soon Nairobi is going now to receive the water from the water tunnel that was done, that was coming from Murang'a through. And of late, the county government of Nairobi has been putting in the new pipes. But my biggest worry is that when we talk about all these things, one of the things I realize every time, every county is talking about water, and especially Nairobi, the infrastructure itself, we have decided to ignore completely. So as much as we will have even the services coming in, and even this water coming into Nairobi, as we look at now what we've supported and the amendments we've agreed with Senate, what the Senate should be now helping us with is to push the county governments to also bring in very clear and new regulations, not just regulations for the water, but for the infrastructure that we are using for this water. And we always ask ourselves, Madam Speaker, in Nairobi, that how come you are able to get water in your tankers, in everything to sell, but water to just come in the pipe? And this thing of Nairobi water, Madam Speaker, must be clearly now dealt with, even with the Senate itself. Because sometimes we are looking at them and we realize when we interfere, they say, oh, we are interfering with issues. I know the other day, Mheshimiwa Atandi said that now that the Senate decided, Madam Speaker, they will be doing everything, I think it is time what is affecting the national government and is within the purview of the counties, we must start dealing with it. And that is why we must start dealing with it. Yes, also, because you give in the policies, you must make sure quality assurance in that water, in terms of how we treat our water, is also a key issue, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, it's not just about the water, it's about the whole package. Ever since we went into devolution, we would wish even to have tokens for water, so that when you are spending and paying for water, Madam Speaker, you know I'm paying for what I have spent. But today you find yourself with a bill and you are imagining you have to pay. You've not seen water for 1 month. So as much as I agree with the amendments, and especially the amendments of now bringing in the services, I can see, first of all, Madam Speaker, they decided in their amendments that the clauses, the following clauses of the Senate, and for me, the Senate, when they were looking at it and saying that they consider clause 3 and agreed that the proposal by the Senate on the requirement to subject the bulk water purchase agreement to an economic efficiency criteria. We are agreeing on it, but we are not asking ourselves, the institution that has been running, what happens, or do we end up again in this? Because everything in government nowadays, Madam Speaker, is bulk. That's why even SHIF is very bulk, and we are now in it. We have no idea where we are headed. Now, this is water, as Mheshimiwa has said. Water is life, and water is health. Clean water will reduce diseases. So let us not just, we need the infrastructure to be looked at. As we go into all these new things that we are doing, the old infrastructure must be looked at, and we must come up with new infrastructure to handle. Lastly, Madam Speaker, on the same issue, now we have all the apartments you see. I'll use my constituency, Dagoretti North. But the waters and the boreholes that we have now agreed to have all over, some of them are drying, yet guys have gone down, Madam Speaker, 400 meters down, looking for water, and it's drying up. So those are some of the things that we must, even as we look at the regulations of those who are doing bulk and all these agreements, can we look at the critical ones that are really affecting us in our lives that we have? And the worst that is affecting us right now in Nairobi is having all over people just drilling boreholes all over. In every apartment that you see, Madam Speaker, there is a borehole. Yet we will say, and we will read from history that Nairobi, Madam Speaker, was a place where the water table was so high. So where are people going 400 meters? There must be a problem. We must look at it. And so for me, I want to plead with the Senate. That infrastructure of water is a big issue, and we cannot continue the way we are today. We cannot look at the services of water on one side and forgetting you need the infrastructure for that service to work. So, Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to support.
Thank you very much, Member for Dagoretti North. The Honorable Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also wish to join the members that have spoken before me in congratulating this mediation committee for the very good work they've done in regard to this motion and this amendment bill, the water amendment bill, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it will be important for members to know that the particular sections that have really been reviewed and the proposals that were made from the Senate are very pertinent to water management in different regions, Honorable Speaker. Section 72, for example, Honorable Speaker, on the Water Act, that is this very Water Act, as it were, it empowered the regulatory body to publish regulatory standards without the approval of the Cabinet Secretary. And this was, of course, for the consistency in the provisions of the law and in order for the water services to maintain the independency and autonomy, its operations and its autonomy of operations of WASREB, the regulation body should be empowered to set national standards for the provision of water service and asset development for water services providers without approval of the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Speaker. Of course, you'll notice that, however, there were Section 2 and 22 of the Statutory Instrument Act guidelines as statutory instruments, and consequently, there is a requirement for the publication in the Gazette. This observation, Honorable Speaker, is very important as enshrined in Clause 5 by the committee. The committee, Honorable Speaker, also agreed with the proposal by the Senate on the requirement to subject the bulk water purchase agreement to an economic efficiency criteria, which should be dropped, and instead, this very body, WASREB, be included and be among the bodies to be consulted when the WWDAs are entering into bulk water purchase agreements. Honorable Speaker, this was a very good proposal by the Senate. Very, very good proposal by the Senate, which, of course, the committee observed with, of course, another proposal to seek for a deletion that had included that provided that a national public water works shall not be transferable to county government. So this had to be dropped to allow for non-transferability of national public works, Honorable Speaker. Very, very good proposals. You'll agree with me, Honorable Speaker, that water is essential, and they say water is life. And there's a delicate balance in management of water and health systems in the society. So it was very, very important for the joint committee of, that is the Committee on Mediation, to come up with very, very good proposals and consult widely. Because even on the nominations of those people who sit at the Council of County Government, you see, that is why the consultations and mediation was very important, because they had to reject the Senate's proposal to provide for the nomination of 2 persons by the Council of County Governor to the Water Tribunal. And you know, it was a very vital reason, because Article 169 of the Constitution usually establishes subordinate courts, and that includes local tribunals established by an act of Parliament. So in exercising judicial authority under Article 159 and 160 of the Constitution, tribunals ought to be the independent and subject only to the Constitution and law, and law only, and be independent from the direction or control of any person or authority, including in their composition. So the inclusion of 2 people nominated, or 2 persons, of course, nominated by the Council of County Governor, Honorable Speaker, really, there was no fairness in such. Because on matters judicial review and matters litigation, or where there are disputes that arise, it's important to have these independent bodies. And the Water Tribunal, as proposed by the bill, is then going to be under the Water Act to hear the disputes related to the implementation of the Water Act, Honorable Speaker. So for that reason, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable Soro. I have a point of order by the Honorable Jared Okello, member for Nyando. What is out of order, Honorable Jared Okello?
Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much. I did not intend to interrupt my very good friend, Honorable Soro, who has delivered justice to this mediated version. And he was actually winding up, so I hope I haven't disrupted his thought processes. Well, Madam Speaker, the bill before us, as mediated, has already been canvassed very extensively so within this House. There were a few touch-ups here and there that called for the mediation between the House of Senate and that of the National Assembly, Honorable Speaker. So what we have before us is a document that is complete. There is nothing that we can do in terms of amendments. As mediated, it can only be passed or it falls, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, in the interest of time, I wouldn't wish that the House again delves into this issue as if we are opening it up for more debate and for more amendments that will be in vain before this House, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, I request your indulgence that you just put it to question. We close this matter because there are many, many issues before us, including a special sitting on Friday based on the number of agenda items before us, before we go for recess next week, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I seek that you give direction on putting the question on this mediated version of the water bill, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Well, I'll give a chance to the Honorable Soro to conclude. Then I'll find out from the House whether that is the mood of the House.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker was actually concluding and making commentaries on the good work the mediation team has actually done. And I agree with Honorable Jared Okello that there is really nothing much one can do. But then, of course, we want to commend the good work and just comment on what they've done. And for me, what stood out or what stands out in this whole mediation report is the fact that the impartiality, the earlier proposed nomination by the Council of County Government, Honorable Speaker, would have invited an element of impartiality, which would jeopardize otherwise a good cause, Honorable Speaker. So, and it's my taking, and with the agreement with the committee, that as an arbiter, it's prudent that the tribunal's membership remains as neutral as possible, as they've proposed. It is actually just a commendation job. It's to recommend and to appreciate the committee for a job well done, and congratulate them, Honorable Speaker. And for that reason, I beg to support. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, I would like to find out from the House, bearing in mind that this is a bill that we debated in this House and referred it to the Senate. It was debated, it came back to this House, and later went for mediation, and now what we are discussing is now the mediated version. What has been agreed by the committee that was set up by the National Assembly and the Senate. So I'd like to find out from the House whether it's the mood of the House that I put the question. So, honorable members, I would like to find out from the House whether the mover can be called to reply. So, will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, as you heard even from the Honorable Jared, Madam Speaker, this bill was debated in this House. It's a bill of 2023. Many members contributed 10. We had several amendments in this House. It was taken to Senate. Senate debated this bill, made some amendments. And what we have in the floor, the mediated version, Honorable Speaker, is a bill which requires just approval of the House. It's not subject to further amendments or to any other amendments. So, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the honorable colleagues, the Majority Whip, and all of us who are actually ventilated into this mediated version of the Water Amendment Bill, the National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023, Madam Speaker, and I beg to reply.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, we will not put the question at this moment. It's going to be put in another sitting as scheduled by the House Business Committee. Next order.
Order number 12, motion, inquiry into irregular and illegal grant of tax exemptions to a company under the Special Operating Framework Agreement.
So thank you very much. The Honorable Kimongoi Kibet, please proceed. Are you a member of the Committee on Delegated Legislation? You are? Okay. You can proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to present this report on the inquiry into irregular and illegal grant of tax exemptions to a company under the Special Operating Framework Agreement. Madam Speaker, I'll give you the summary of the report and findings of the committee as follows. This report presents the findings of the committee on delegated legislation's inquiry into the alleged irregular and illegal tax exemptions granted to Blue Nile Rolling Mills Limited under a purported special operating framework agreement. The inquiry was initiated following...
Okay, order, Honorable Onchoke. Please start by moving the motion as it is in the order paper. Then you can now proceed and tell us what you're telling us now.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I would like him to be assisted with the order paper.
All right. I move the motion that this House adopts the report on the Committee on Delegated Legislation on the inquiry into irregular and illegal grant of tax exemptions to a company under the Special Operating Framework Agreement laid on the table of the House Thursday, 26 September 2024. Madam Speaker, the inquiry was initiated following the request for statement on the floor of the House on 31st July 2024 by the member for Kiambaa constituency, Honorable John Njuguna Kawanjiko, Member of Parliament, who raised concerns about the legality and fairness of the exemptions. Upon request, the Honorable Speaker referred the matter to the Committee on Delegated Legislation for its consideration pursuant to Standing Orders 44-2C of the National Assembly Standing Orders. This is an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the grant of exemptions, the legal basis of the exemptions, the benefits conferred on the company, and the potential impact on the government's revenue and local steel industry, among others. In conducting the inquiry, the committee held a total of 4 sittings, during which it received oral and written submissions from various stakeholders, including the National Treasury and Economic Planning, the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and Blue Nile Rolling Mills Limited. Having considered submissions by stakeholders, the committee made the following findings. Unconstitutionality. That the Special Operating Framework Agreement dated 18th December 2019 contravened A, Article 35 on access to information in regard to Article 7 of this agreement, which is confidentiality clause. B, Article 201A on principles of public finance, on openness, accountability, including public participation. C, Article 95, 4C of the Constitution with regard to oversight role of National Assembly over national revenue and its expenditure. D, Article 210(2) of the Constitution on maintenance of public records of tax waiver and report of waiver to the Auditor General. And E, Article 10(2)C and Article 118 of the Constitution, which requires good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability. Non-conformity with relevant statutes, that the agreement failed to conform with the relevant statutes, including A, Section 13 of the Income Tax Act, Cap 470 of the laws of Kenya, which allows the Cabinet Secretary to exempt any income or class of income which are accrued in or derived from Kenya from taxation. 1, by publishing a Gazette notice to that effect in accordance with the subsection 2, and 2, by submitting the notice to be laid before the National Assembly without unreasonable delay in accordance with subsection 3. Which requirements the committee observed were not followed, since the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury neither published the notice in the Gazette nor submitted for laying in and approval by the National Assembly. 2, Section 68 of the Value Added Tax Act, Cap 476 of the laws of Kenya, except all special operating framework arrangements entered into with the government, which were in existence at the commencement of the Act in the year 2022. In this arrangement, the arrangement was signed between 16th and 30th January 2020 falls within the timelines of the arrangements saved under the Value Added Tax Act. Consequently, the committee, having found that the purported Special Operating Framework Agreement arrangement between Blue Nile Rolling Mill Limited and the government was unprocedural and unlawful, the committee is of the opinion that Blue Nile Rolling Mill Limited ought not to benefit from the said saving. C, the provision of the Law of Contract Act, Cap 23 of the laws of Kenya in relation to the signature and affixing of common seal. To the extent that the agreement contained 3 signatures appended by parties, but on different dates at different places, implying that not all the parties were present at the signing, contrary to the principles of the law of contract. The agreement was void to the extent that it lacked the affixing of the common seal of one of the parties. D, Miscellaneous Fees and Levies Act, Cap 469C of the laws of Kenya, to the extent that Article 5 of the agreement seeks exemption from import declaration fees and railway development levy. However, the same has not been exempted under the Miscellaneous Fees and Levies Act. C, Tax Procedures Act, Cap 469B of the laws of Kenya, to the extent that the committee considered the failure by Blue Nile Rolling Mill Limited to remit the attendant taxes amounted to tax avoidance, which is defined in Section 3 of the Act as a transaction or scheme designed to avoid liability to pay tax under any law. From the submission by the National Treasury, the committee observed that due to the tax avoidance, the government lost revenue in terms of unpaid tax amounting to Kenya shillings 2,311,775,548 as of July 2024. F, Competition Act, Cap 305 of the laws of Kenya, contemplates fair trade practices. Section 221(3)(f) prohibits any agreement, decision, or concerted practice which applies dissimilar conditions to equivalent transactions with other parties, thereby placing them at a competitive disadvantage, which was the case in this circumstance. The committee observed that this agreement was discriminative and created unfair level ground for other industry players, contrary to Article 24C of the Constitution and non-discrimination on any grounds. G, the Statutory Instruments Act, Cap 2A of the laws of Kenya, to the extent that 1, Circular number 9/218, ref number ZZ/TS/GP/30, dated 18 October 2018, issuing guidelines for grant of tax exemptions, which was relied upon in granting the SOFA in a statutory instrument within the meaning of Section 3 of the Statutory Instruments Act. In and after the Act, the committee observed that although the above-mentioned guidelines is a statutory instrument, the same was not laid before the National Assembly in line with Section 11(1) of the Statutory Instruments Act for scrutiny and approval. Consequently, the circular ceased to have effect upon the expiry of the 7 days from the date of issuance as provided for under Section 11(4) of the Act. 2, the SOFA agreement was a statutory instrument which ought to have been submitted to the National Assembly for tabling and consideration as required under the Statutory Instruments Act. Consequently, the committee observed that SOFA agreement was a nullity ab initio. Non-compliance with the principles of a standard contract agreement, that the agreement did not comply with the general principles of a standard contract or agreement in respect to the signatures appended and the dates reflected therein. The committee further observed that the exemption under East African Community Duty Remission Scheme was granted despite lack of demonstration of any application for the same, which is a clear indication that the exemption was unprocedurally and unlawfully granted. Having conducted the inquiry, the committee recommends that this House adopts the report on its inquiry into irregular and illegal grant of tax exemptions to a company under the Special Operating Framework Agreement, with the following recommendations. That is, the House resolves A, to declare that the said Special Operating Framework Agreement was done outside the requisite legal framework, thus a nullity and hence void. B, to direct all the relevant statutory bodies to take necessary legal action on parties involved in the whole process of the irregular tax exemptions under this Special Operating Framework Agreement therein. C, pursuant to Section 12(2) of Statutory Instruments Act, the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning submits
Honorable Kawanjiko.
tax exemption guidelines for the implementation of Special Operating Framework Agreements to the National Assembly within 6 months of the House adopting this report. Speaker, I take this opportunity to thank all members of the committee for their contributions and input during the deliberations and writing of this report. I also thank the stakeholders for their submissions that enriched this report. The committee further wishes to thank the offices of the Honorable Speaker and the Clerk of the National Assembly for the logistical support provided during the consideration and investigation of the issues raised in the statement. It's now my pleasant duty and privilege on behalf of the Committee on Delegated Legislation to present the report on the inquiry into irregular and illegal grant of tax exemptions to a company under the Special Operating Framework Agreement to the House pursuant to Standing Order number 199 for consideration and adoption on behalf of Chairman of the Committee, Honorable Chepkonga Kiprono Samuel, CBS MP, Chairperson.
Honorable Nchoke, you need to move.
And
also,
Honorable Chair, I move.
Identify the person to second. Have you identified?
Honorable Speaker, I request Honorable Kawanjiko, member for Kiambaa, to second.
Thank you. The Honorable Kawanjiko, member for Kiambaa.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise to support the report of the Committee on Delegated Registration on the inquiry of the alleged irregular and illegal grant of tax exemption to Brunei Rolling Mill Limited under the Special Operation Framework Agreement, commonly known as SOFA, Madam Speaker. And as you are aware, the report is culminating from of the inquiry carried out by the committee upon request for a statement that I made to the House. In my statement, I had sought the indulgence of the committee to look into concerns relating to the legality of the SOFA agreement, which had illegally exempted taxes returning into billions of shillings belonging to the people of Kenya to one company named Blue Niles, Madam Speaker. I have held a chance to pursue and certainly examine the report of the committee that I rise to support its finding as contained in the report, in particularly in paragraph 114 to 121. Indeed, the committee has established that the SOFA agreement was unconstitutional for violating, among other provisions, Article 35 on access to information and Article 201A on openness and accountability in public finance. The circumstance under which the SOFA agreement was executed with the Blue Nile, Madam Speaker, was are shielded with secrecy, in clear violation of fundamental pillars of our Constitution on openness, good governance, transparency, accountability, integrity, access to information, and even particularly public participation. How one can exempt a company from paying hundreds of billions, Madam Speaker, without disclosure is baffling and certainly cannot stand the test of our Constitution, Madam Speaker. What even worrying is that the SOFA agreement, which is statutory instrument, Madam Speaker, ought to have been submitted to this House for scrutiny. That's number one, Madam Speaker, for scrutiny, and a manner provided for the Statutory Instruments Act, Madam Speaker. This was never done, and the SOFA agreement is certainly illegal, null and void for being contrary to the provision of the statute.